This is an artwork that I really do like, and I do want this to be a finished piece. I was happy with the way that the orchids and lilies were kind of working together and the way that the figures were working together. And what I need to decide right now is what is going behind this. In my process, I do a lot of variations. Sometimes I'm not sure what to do, so I printed out 3 different backgrounds for this. These are images that I manipulated so that I could explore some of the subject and content that I wanted to explore. It might be difficult to see, but this is a map of Puerto Rico where there was the hurricane and the flooding, and I made it, unified in color, so you can see the words Puerto Rico over the girl's head. So I'm just sort of deciding if this is going to be the background right now, and I'm not sure. I also printed out a map of the world. This is from the political map of the world. This is free for us to use because it's from the Library of Congress. Right? It's from the Census Bureau, so there's no copyright on it. So I'm seeing if this looks better, the map of the world, and I'm also thinking about, what am I saying when I put them on the map of the world. Right now, one of the girls is on Brazil, and I don't know if that's the meaning I want it to have. The United States is up here, so sort of seeing how it looks. Plus it's a little bit dark, and I don't know if I like that. And last but not least, I'm going to try this printout of the United States. So this is the United States map, and actually this is looking pretty good. What I'm liking about this is that we can recognize the shape, and what I'm also liking about this is the color is better. I'm also noticing that they are lining up with Houston, right, in Texas, and that was a place of flooding. So that's an important thing, and I like the way that the words are looking for United States. So I think this is the one I'm going to use for this. So I had to play around with that a little bit, but I think the colors go together well, and I'm going to put this into a frame, and I'm going to put this in my exhibit. You don't always love everything you make, and I'm looking at this painting that I just did, and when it comes together, it would have had this backdrop behind it. That was the plan. Right, to be able to utilize this artwork with this backdrop. But after painting it and I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it together, I really don't like it. So this is something that's going to go in a pile, and it's not going to be used. But I learned a valuable lesson here. I learned that I don't want to use solid colors in these flowers. I want to have more variation in my tones. So I just wanted to share with everyone that sometimes artists make work, and sometimes that work is not perfect or it's not to our liking. So we use it as a learning opportunity, and then we make something new or we redo it. So I just wanted to share that with everyone. Thank you. A lot of things help me with my artwork. One of the things that has nothing to do with art that helps me with my artwork is I actually swim 3 days a week. So for 3 mornings, I'm in the pool swimming for an hour. That's a really great place for me to clear my mind. It also gives me time to think about my artwork. It also connects me to the water. And this has influenced my artwork a lot. And I think also water can serve different purposes. Depending upon where it is and what's going on. For example, in a swimming pool, it's a great thing. But if your entire town is flooded, it's the most horrible thing. Nature has always been a large part of my work, but not in a realistic way. I try to stylize things that I find in nature, and that might mean that I go for a walk and I find particular leaves that have a specific shape that I like, and I might translate that into a stylistic vision, but it all originates in nature. And I also feel that we are in a bit of a pickle with the world right now because we have the natural world as things grow, flowers, trees, grass, It's hard to deny the beauty of most of the things we see in nature. And I try to use that beauty as a framing device in a lot of my paintings and drawings. That it is inherent beauty that's framing what might be a dangerous situation or a situation that is not quite correct, and almost like we're looking in at it. And we get attracted by what's natural and beautiful, but then once we look closer, we see the reality of the situation. When I'm having a bad day at the studio, I might leave the studio and go for a walk at the riverfront. And I might look at some of the cattails that are there, some of the plants that are more swamp-related plants. I might try to find egrets or herons that are walking around over by the waterfront. So by the studio, I might be looking for certain types of natural wildlife, different flowers, different growths. If I know that I want other types of vegetation, I might need to go to a botanical garden. I might need to even go to a neighbor's garden. Once I went to my neighbor's garden and I was able to photograph trumpet honeysuckle, and that really informed one of my paintings that I did. Many of the botanicals that I draw come from life, they come from reference, they come from photographic research. Many of the characters or other elements in my artwork are from my imagination, honestly. So what I've tried to do is build a visual vocabulary of a language that I understand, a language of images. And I'm able to transpose some of those images into various different situations. In the current series of work that I'm making in oil paint, as well as in a series of drawings and sketches, the main character, so to speak, is a young adolescent girl. I chose to make her young and show her in this way because she is fragile, she is vulnerable, she is probably the number one person you'd want to protect. And also I made her somewhat anonymous so that she could be everyone. She could be you, she could be your daughter, she could be every child that you have seen. She is everyone. And she is perhaps lost, sometimes found, maybe she's looking, but I wanted my viewer to look at her and feel a little bit of perhaps relationship with her and connect with her in this way. I thought it was important to keep the figure generic. I didn't want to specify her as a specific race or with specific features or as a specific person, because I want her to be everybody. I want her to be every single young, vulnerable person that you've ever seen. And she is representative of that, because the other thing in a lot of these works is she is not with an adult. She is with either herself or she's with someone else of her same status. So, you might then beg the question of what will happen to this person, to this young figure. Again, it goes back to, as this moment, she's part of my vocabulary. Other things are part of my vocabulary also. I've used the Ford truck a number of times. I believe that the Ford truck represents everything we think about America, both good and bad. It represents how we might have grown up, things we might have seen in movies. It's sort of like just one of those symbols. People might see a Ford truck and they might think of farm, and they might think of a farmer, or they might think of things that have to do with our culture as Americans. So I wanted to sometimes use things like a Ford truck or other recognizable things in the painting so that we associate it with our contemporary environment today, or maybe what we've done to our contemporary environment. When we see a Ford truck, but the truck is not on the road, the truck is floating, right? We know that the truck has now, taken on a different life and has been a victim of, flooding. So the Ford truck becomes a symbol of something else in that instance.